Arrival at the Alien Academy. As the interstellar transport ship approached Ziriac 6, Zura pressed her face eagerly against the viewport, drinking in her first glimpse of the planet that would be her home for the next year. The Galactic Academy sprawled across the planet's northern continent, its soaring crystalline towers glinting in the reddish light of the system's binary stars. Zara both thrilled with excitement and trembled with nervousness at the thought of being the first human student ever accepted to the prestigious academy. Representing the entire human race to an institution filled with thousands of aliens from across the known universe was a daunting prospect. But Zara had worked incredibly hard to get here, and she was determined to make the most of this opportunity. As the ship descended through wispy crimson clouds toward the planet's surface, Zara gathered her belongings, ensuring her portable atmosphere converter was secure. Ziriac 6 had a slightly higher oxygen content than Earth standard, but her converter would keep her breathing comfortably. She checked the pot containing her bonsai cherry tree, a little piece of Earth to keep her company. Once assured everything was in order, she joined the crowd of alien students filing out of the ship. The spaceport swarmed with activity as students from dozens of species streamed from recently arrived ships. Zara stared in amazement at the sheer diversity. A group of tall, willowy beings with skin that shimmered like opals, a pair of aliens that looked like upright slugs oozing across the floor, an insectoid with compound eyes, and 4 sets of wings. Saucer-shaped drones zipped overhead, collecting luggage from each ship's hold and ferrying it to the appropriate dormitories. Spotting a kiosk with the Galactic Academy logo emblazoned on it, Zura approached and scanned her student ID chip. The kiosk flashed a message of welcome and lit up a trail on the floor for her to follow to her assigned dormitory. Taking a deep breath, Zara hoisted her backpack and set off. The path wound through lush gardens brimming with bizarre plant life from around the galaxy. Trees with spiral trunks and fluorescent flowers, the size of umbrellas, towered overhead. One bed overflowed with a species of lichen from a planet with intense winds. It undulated gently, resembling a sea of purple tentacles. The air hung heavy with mingled perfumes, both intoxicating and alien. After 10 minutes of walking, Zara arrived at a shimmering dome-shaped structure rising 5 stories high. A large holographic sign identified it as Dormitory Epsilon Blue. Double-checking that it matched her dormitory assignment, Zara passed through the shimmering energy barrier that served as the entrance. The dormitory foyer soared 3 stories high, capped by a transparent ceiling offering a view of the salmon-colored sky. Curving ramps and floating disc-shaped elevator platforms provided access to the upper levels. Following illuminated instructions, Zara took a ramp to the 2nd level and located room E217. The door dilated open at her approach, welcoming her to her new home. The room was a spacious semicircle, one entire curved wall composed of smart glass that could be opaque for privacy or made transparent to let in the view of the campus. Zara was happy to see a sleeping pad, work console, storage units, and a private hygiene chamber that adjusted for the needs of different species. She was just setting her bonsai tree on the window shelf when a melodic chime sounded, and the door spiraled open again. A figure entered, her new roommate. The alien looked like a 4-foot-tall lemur with maroon fur, enormous golden eyes, and a long striped prehensile tail. She wore a Galactic Academy uniform jumpsuit that had been adapted to accommodate her tail and moved with an agile, sylph-like grace. "Greetings. I am Ventress Ulu, your roommate," she said. Her voice sounded like wind chimes tinkling. "It's great to meet you, Ventress," Zara said. "I'm Zora Connor." "Ah, you are the human." Ventress's huge eyes widened even further, and her tail twitched excitedly. "This is most exciting. I have never before met a human. Your species is still quite new to the galactic community." "That's right. We've only been part of the United Galactic Federation for a few decades now," Zora said. "So I'm really excited to be here and meet so many aliens. I hope I can help my species make a good impression." "I'm sure you will. I confess I do not know very much about humans, but I look forward to learning. We can explore this new experience together. Ventraz began unpacking her own belongings, which included a sleeping hammock she suspended from the ceiling and a small furry creature in a floating bubble that seemed to be a pet. Zara noticed the alien did not have any visible breathing equipment. If you don't mind me asking, are you able to breathe the atmosphere here without any aids? Oh yes, Ventraz said. My species is originally from Aruva, which has a very similar atmospheric composition to Ziriac 6. We can breathe quite comfortably here. I notice you have a breathing device, though. Does your species require a very different air mix? We can tolerate a pretty wide range, but we do best with an oxygen concentration a bit lower than what's here, Zara explained. My converter makes minor adjustments. Nothing too drastic. Ventraz nodded, her maroon fur rippling. The diversity of life never ceases to amaze. There is so much to learn from each other. This will be a great year of discovery for us both. As Zara began setting up her console and unpacking her clothes, a warm sense of promise blossomed within her. Ventraz's friendliness and openness had soothed some of her worries. She could already tell her roommate's curiosity matched her own. Despite the vast differences in their origins, they would have much to bond over as they navigated this new experience together. But challenges surely lay ahead as well. An institution as cosmopolitan as the Galactic Academy was bound to include some beings who weren't thrilled about humanity's new presence on the galactic stage. Some species still viewed humans as primitive upstarts, stumbling into an arena they weren't ready for. Zara would have to work hard to prove that humans deserved their place here. And then there was the matter of just how much her classmates actually knew about Earth and humanity. Zara knew there were some aspects of human culture and biology that were quite different from galactic norms. Some human foods were toxic to other species. Many aliens found it grotesque that human skeletons were on the inside. And most of the galaxy did not share humans' strange affinity for keeping predatory animals as pets. As the first human most of her peers would meet, Zara knew a lot of perceptions would rest on how she represented her kind. But those were worries for another day. For now, Zara focused on getting settled and acquainted with her new surroundings and what was sure to be a fascinating new friend. As the rose-gold light of the binary stars set behind the glittering spires of the Galactic Academy, Zara thrilled with a profound sense of the momentous journey she was embarking on, for herself and for the entire human race. First day of classes. Zara woke to the gentle chiming of the Galactic Academy's eye assistant, letting her know it was time to get ready for her first day of classes. Excitement and nervousness swirled in her stomach as she donned her academy uniform, a smart white jumpsuit that adjusted automatically to fit her frame perfectly. On the lapel, her name and home planet were embroidered in glittering thread that subtly shifted colors. Ventraz was already up, grooming her maroon fur with a sonic brush. "Ready for our first day?" she asked brightly. "As ready as I'll ever be," Zara said with a smile that felt slightly shaky. "I just hope I don't make any massive cultural faux pas." "You'll be fine," Ventraz assured her. "Just remember, everyone here is learning. We're all here to expand our understanding." After a quick breakfast from the dormitory's nutrient dispenser, which thankfully had options compatible with human biology, they headed out to the main campus. The soaring crystal spires of the academy sparkled in the red dawn light of Ziriac 6's twin suns. Alien students of all shapes and sizes moved along the walkways and hovered in anti-grav tubes, heading to their various classes. Zara's first class was Galactic History 101. As she entered the enormous lecture hall, she took a moment to marvel at her classmates. There were beings that looked like giant praying mantises, delicate gaseous life forms floating in containment spheres, and hulking rock-like creatures that moved with surprising grace. Zara took a seat next to a willowy blue alien who introduced himself as Ixel from the planet Rigilix. The professor, a tall being with golden scaled skin and 4 arms, called the class to attention. Welcome, students from across the galaxy. I am Professor Zyloff. In this class, we will be exploring the grand tapestry of galactic history, from the first stirrings of civilization on ancient worlds to the forging of the United Galactic Federation. We will examine how each of your unique species has contributed to the rich story of our shared cosmos. As the professor began his lecture, Zora activated her translator implant to keep up with the rapid flow of information. She learned about the ancient progenitors who seeded the first intelligent life in the galaxy, the great wars that nearly tore the fledgling galactic community apart, and the eventual formation of the United Galactic Federation that had ushered in an era of peace and cooperation. It was mind-expanding to hear this grand narrative that put her own species' brief foray into the stars into cosmic context. Humans were galactic newcomers, with less than a century since first contact. They had so much catching up to do. Next was Xenobiology 101. As Zara entered the lab, she was struck by the riot of colors and textures of the alien flora and fauna specimens displayed around the room. There were shimmering scales, bioluminescent fungi, and plants that seemed to move of their own volition. The professor, a small furry being with large ears and a long snout, welcomed the students. I am Professor Trill. In this class, we will be learning about the astonishing diversity of life forms in our galaxy. Each of you comes from a unique biosphere, with its own evolutionary history and ecological quirks. We have much to learn from each other. As an icebreaker, Professor Trill had each student share a brief fact about a unique creature from their homeworld. Zara listened in fascination as her classmates described electric eels that powered their cities, swarms of sentient insects that formed hive minds, and dragon-like beasts that soared through the skies of gas giants. Then it was Zora's turn. She stood up, suddenly feeling a bit nervous. Well, Earth has some pretty amazing animals too. We have creatures called elephants that are some of the largest land mammals, with long noses called trunks they use like hands. And we have things called kangaroos that have pouches on their bellies for carrying their babies. The class listened politely, but Zara could sense they weren't terribly impressed. Earth animals were probably seen as rather mundane compared to the exotic beings they were used to. She sat back down, feeling a bit deflated. But as the class went on, and they began learning about the molecular building blocks shared by all known life, Zora was once again swept up in the awe-inspiring reality of the cosmic web of life she was now learning about firsthand. Even if humans were newcomers, they were part of something vastly greater. The rest of the day passed in a blur of new information and sensory overload. Alien equations in advanced mathematics, dizzying VR simulations in galactic geography, mind-bending philosophical discussions in interspecies ethics. By the time Zora returned to her dormitory that evening, her head was spinning with new ideas and perspectives. Ventress was already there, floating upside down in her hammock as she reviewed holographic notes from her own classes. "How was your first day?" she asked. "Amazing. Overwhelming. Mind-blowing," Zora said, flopping onto her bed. "I feel like my brain has been stretched in 100 new directions." "I know the feeling," Ventress commiserated. "But isn't it exhilarating? There's just so much to learn." Zara nodded, staring up at the slowly shifting colors of the ceiling. "It really is. I knew coming here would be transformative, but I had no idea just how much." As she lay there, processing the day, a thought nagged at the back of her mind. The xenobiology icebreaker had shown her just how little her classmates likely knew about Earth life. And if they were impressed by elephants and kangaroos, how would they react to some of Earth's more unusual creatures? Zara thought of her pet ball python back home, Sasha. To her, Sasha was a beloved companion, a gentle and fascinating creature. But she knew many of her classmates would likely see Sasha as a horrifying monster, a deadly predator. The thought made her uneasy. But that was a bridge to cross another day. For now, Zara let herself bask in the glow of first-day accomplishment and excitement. She had begun her journey into a bigger universe, and while challenges surely lay ahead, She knew it would be the adventure of a lifetime. As the rose-gold light of Ziriac Six's twin suns set over the glittering spires of the Galactic Academy, Zura drifted off to sleep, dreaming of cosmic wonders yet to be discovered. The class presentation. As the weeks passed, Zara fell into the rhythm of life at the Galactic Academy. Her days were filled with fascinating lectures, mind-bending lab experiments, and stimulating discussions with her classmates from across the cosmos. She marveled at the advanced technologies her engineering classes worked with, from zero-point energy generators to quantum computers that could simulate entire star systems. But one of Zora's favorite classes was xenobiology. Professor Trill had an infectious enthusiasm for the astonishing diversity of life in the universe, and each lecture was filled with new wonders. Zora learned about the silicon-based life forms of the Quartzian Nebula, the sentient ocean that covered the planet Hydros, and the microbial colonies that formed vast living cities in the asteroid belts of the Orion Arm. As midterms approached, Professor Trill announced a special project. Each of you will give a presentation on a unique creature from your home world, she explained. You will delve into its biology, ecology, and cultural significance to your species. This is a chance for you to share a fascinating aspect of your world with your classmates. Zara's mind immediately went to Sasha, her pet ball python back on Earth. Sasha was certainly a unique creature, and one that held great personal significance to Zora. But she hesitated. She knew many of her classmates would likely find the idea of a pet snake deeply disturbing. On the other appendage, wasn't this exactly the kind of cultural exchange the Academy was all about? If Zara couldn't share this part of herself here, in this place dedicated to fostering interspecies understanding, then where could she? Perhaps this was a chance to challenge some preconceptions and broaden some minds. Mind made up, Zora threw herself into researching and preparing her presentation on Earth's snakes, and ball pythons in particular. She gathered images and videos of Sasha, showcasing her fascinating behaviors and anatomy. She prepared a section on the role of snakes in Earth's ecosystems and their cultural significance in human mythology and symbolism. The day of the presentations arrived. Zara listened in fascination as her classmates shared the wonders of their worlds. Ixel showcased the bioluminescent flying serpents that filled the night skies of Rigilix. Ventraz shared about the furry, six-legged herbivores that her people domesticated and rode across the plains of Aruva. Then it was Zora's turn. She took a deep breath, steeling herself, and stepped to the front of the class. For my presentation, I want to share with you one of Earth's most unique and misunderstood creatures, snakes. Specifically, I'll be focusing on a species called the ball python, which many humans, including myself, keep as beloved pets. She brought up her first holographic image, a close-up of Sasha's face, her dark eyes gleaming and her forked tongue flicking out to taste the air. There was a murmur of unease from the class. Zara began to explain the basics of snake biology, their unique sensory systems, their amazing flexibility and strength. She showed videos of snakes' specialized feeding behaviors, the way they could unhinge their jaws to swallow prey much larger than their heads. The class watched in a mix of fascination and horror. A green-skinned classmate asked in a tremulous voice, "So, these creatures, they consume their prey whole, while it's still alive?" Zara nodded. "Yes, that's how snakes feed. But it's important to understand for a snake, this isn't cruel or evil. It's simply their natural way of sustaining themselves, just as many of your species' predators have their own unique adaptations for hunting and feeding." She moved on to discussing the role of snakes in Earth's ecosystems, how they helped control rodent populations, and how the venom of some species was being studied for potential medicinal uses. She explained how ancient human cultures revered snakes as symbols of wisdom, healing, and rebirth. Finally, Zora brought up a picture of herself with Sasha draped around her shoulders, a scene of obvious affection and trust between human and serpent. The class gasped. "This is my pet ball python, Sasha," Zora said, her voice warm with love. "She's been my companion for 6 years now. I know to many of you, the idea of forming a bond with a creature like this may seem strange, even frightening. But I assure you, Sasha is tame, gentle, and affectionate. Keeping snakes as pets is a way for many humans to foster a connection with and appreciation for an often misunderstood part of our natural world. There was a long moment of silence as the class processed this. Then, to Zora's surprise, Ventress spoke up. On Eruva, we have a saying, "The wise see beyond the skin." It means we must look past surface appearances and differences to appreciate the unique beauty and value of all beings. Zara, I confess when I first saw your snake, I felt fearful. But listening to you share your knowledge and your genuine love for this creature, I find myself intrigued rather than repelled. Thank you for broadening my perspective. Other classmates began chiming in, asking questions about snake care and behavior, sharing their own stories of revered predators on their worlds. Zara felt a warm glow of pride and relief. She had taken a risk, but it had paid off. She had created a tiny crack in the wall of xenophobia and misunderstanding, letting in a sliver of light. As the discussion wound down and Zara returned to her seat, Professor Trill caught her eye and gave her a subtle nod of approval. Zara smiled to herself, feeling a quiet triumph. She had represented her species well today, showcasing both humanity's unique bond with the creatures of their world and their willingness to reach out and find common ground with the beings of other worlds. It was a small step, but an important one. If Zara could change minds here at the Academy, those ripples could spread outward, fostering greater understanding and cooperation among the diverse species of the galaxy. That was the power of education, the power of cultural exchange. The bell chimed, signaling the end of class. As Zara gathered her materials, several classmates approached her, eager to continue the discussion. Ventress bounded up beside her, eyes shining. Zara, that was amazing. You have to tell me more about Sasha. Do you think I could meet her someday? Zara grinned at her friend. I would love that. And who knows, maybe one day, when interstellar travel is a bit easier, you can visit Earth and meet her in person. As they walked out of the classroom, Zara felt a new spring in her step. She had come to the Academy to learn, but she was realizing that she had just as much to teach. Each of them did, every being from every world represented here. That was the beauty of this place, the promise of a galaxy united in diversity. Zara knew there would be more challenges ahead, more cultural misunderstandings and xenophobic obstacles to overcome. But she also knew that she was exactly where she was meant to be, doing exactly what she was meant to do. One mind at a time, one heart at a time, she would help build the bridges of understanding that would carry the galaxy into a brighter future. With a smile on her face and the endless possibilities of the cosmos swirling in her mind, Zara headed off to her next class, ready to learn and to teach, to listen and to share. The adventure was just beginning. Cultural misunderstandings. In the days following her xenobiology presentation, Zara noticed a subtle shift in how some of her classmates interacted with her. While many, like Ventress, had been intrigued and open-minded about learning of Earth's snakes, others seemed to withdraw, casting uneasy glances her way and whispering behind her back. It all came to a head one morning in the dormitory dining hall. As Zara carried her breakfast tray to the table where Ventress and a few other friends were sitting, she accidentally bumped into Zortix, a large insectoid being from the planet Arthros. Zortix hissed, his mandibles clicking angrily. "Watch where you're going, snake girl," he spat. "Keep your distance from me, you hear? I don't want any of your scaly little friends slithering into my room at night." Zara was taken aback. "Zortix, I would never let that happen. Sasha is safely back on Earth, and even if she were here, she'd stay in my room. She's not a threat to anyone." But Zortix wasn't appeased. "You humans and your bizarre affinity for deadly creatures," he sneered. "It's unnatural, dangerous. How can we trust a species that cavorts with vicious predators?" Zara felt her face flush with anger and embarrassment. Around her, Conversations had stopped as students turned to watch the confrontation. She saw curiosity in some faces, unease in others, and in a few open hostility. Before she could formulate a response, Ventress was at her side, golden eyes flashing. "That's enough. Zortix," she said firmly. "Zara has done nothing wrong. She simply shared an aspect of her culture with us, as we all have. Judging her for it is exactly the kind of close-minded xenophobia the Academy is supposed to counter." Zortix chittered aggressively, but backed down in the face of Ventress's unwavering stare. With a final hostile click of his mandibles in Zara's direction, he stalked off. Ventress turned to Zara, her expression softening. "Are you all right?" Zara managed a shaky smile. "I'm fine. Thank you for standing up for me." As she sat down to eat, Zara's mind was whirling. She knew Zortix's reaction was an extreme one, but she couldn't help but wonder how many of her other classmates shared his sentiments to some degree. Had her presentation backfired? Instead of fostering understanding, had she just reinforced negative stereotypes about humans? Over the next few days, Zara threw herself into her studies, trying to push the incident from her mind. But she couldn't ignore the chilly reception she now received from some of her classmates. There were those who flinched away when she approached, as if afraid she might sick some venomous serpent on them. Others made snide comments under their breath about humans' primitive ways. Even some of the professors seemed to look at her differently. In interspecies ethics, Professor Quillix, a tall, slender being with pale purple skin, posed a pointed question to the class. "In some cultures," he said, his luminous eyes fixing on Zara, "it is considered acceptable, even admirable, to form close bonds with creatures that are natural predators to other sentient beings. What are the ethical implications of this? Is it a sign of a society's enlightenment or its barbarity?" Zara felt her stomach clench. The question was clearly a thinly veiled reference to her and Sasha. Around the room, she saw her classmates exchanging uneasy glances. To her surprise, it was Ixel who spoke up first. "Professor, with all due respect, I believe that question oversimplifies a complex issue. Predation is a natural part of most ecosystems, including those of many of our homeworlds. The fact that a species may have predatory members doesn't negate its right to exist, or our ability to appreciate and even admire those members in appropriate contexts." Other students began to chime in, some agreeing with Ixel, others arguing that forming affectionate bonds with predators was an unnecessary risk. The debate grew heated, with Zara at its center, feeling increasingly like a bug under a microscope. Finally, Professor Quillix raised a slender hand for silence. "These are difficult questions," he acknowledged, "with no easy answers. But it is precisely this kind of thoughtful, nuanced discussion that we must have if we are to build a truly inclusive and cooperative galactic community. We must be willing to confront our own biases and preconceptions, to try to understand perspectives vastly different from our own." His luminous gaze found Zara's. "And we must remember that no single individual can be taken as representative of an entire species. Each of us is a unique blend of our cultural background and our personal experiences and choices. To judge an entire species based on one member's actions is the height of xenophobic folly." As the class ended and the students filed out, Zara felt a mix of exhaustion and relief. The discussion had been challenging, even painful at times, but it had also been necessary. If her presentation had stirred up some uncomfortable feelings and forced some difficult conversations, maybe that was a good thing in the long run. Change was never easy. Progress was often uncomfortable. But if the Academy was truly dedicated to fostering interspecies understanding and cooperation, then these were the kinds of growing pains they would have to endure. Still, as Zara made her way back to her dormitory, she couldn't shake a sense of unease. The Cultural Exchange Fair was coming up in a few weeks, a major event where students were encouraged to share aspects of their homeworld's culture with the entire Academy community. Zara had been planning to set up a booth showcasing some of Earth's unique wildlife, including a virtual reality experience allowing visitors to interact with holographic recreations of creatures like Sasha. But now, she wasn't so sure. Would her exhibit be seen as an educational opportunity or a provocative stunt? Would it help break down barriers or just reinforce divisions? As she entered her room, Zara saw Ventress waiting for her, concern etched on her furry face. "I heard about what happened in ethics class," she said softly. "Are you okay?" Zara sighed, sinking onto her bed. "I don't know," she confessed. "Part of me feels like I should just lay low, stop rocking the boat. But another part of me feels like that would be giving in to exactly the kind of xenophobic pressure the Academy is supposed to resist." Ventress sat beside her, radiating gentle support. "I can't tell you what the right answer is," she said, "but I can tell you that you have friends here who support you and believe in what you're trying to do, including me." Zara felt tears prick her eyes. She leaned against Ventress, feeling her friend's soft fur against her cheek. "Thank you," she whispered. "That means more than you know." They sat in silence for a long moment, contemplating the challenges ahead. Zara knew the road would not be easy, but she also knew that she wouldn't back down. For Sasha, for all of Earth's misunderstood creatures, and for the dream of a galaxy united in diversity, she would keep fighting the good fight. One mind at a time, one heart at a time, she would keep reaching out, keep seeking common ground. It was, after all, the most human thing she could do. In a vast and often frightening universe, the greatest strength of her species had always been their ability to connect, to empathize, to find beauty and kinship in the strange and unknown. And so, as the twin suns of Ziriac 6 set over the gleaming spires of the Galactic Academy, Zara reaffirmed her resolve. Come what may, she would keep sharing her truth, keep extending the hand of friendship and understanding. In the end, she had to believe love and knowledge would always triumph over fear and ignorance. It was a small hope, perhaps, in the face of such vast and daunting divisions. But it was a start, and from small beginnings, great things could grow. Even perhaps a new era of peace and unity for the galaxy. With a smile of quiet determination, Zara turned her mind to planning her cultural exchange fair exhibit. She had a lot of work to do, an educational opportunity. As the cultural exchange fair approached, Zara threw herself into preparations for her exhibit on Earth's wildlife, despite the lingering unease and occasional hostile glances from some of her classmates. Homeworld's fauna, including the often misunderstood creatures like snakes. She spent long hours in the Academy's holographic design lab, crafting intricate virtual recreations of various Earth environments and the animals that inhabited them. Visitors to her exhibit would be able to walk through a lush rainforest, a sprawling savanna, a chilly tundra, and more, interacting with stunningly realistic holographic creatures. For the centerpiece of the exhibit, Zara recreated her own bedroom back on Earth, complete with Sasha's vivarium. Visitors would be able to enter the room and observe Sasha as Zara did, watching her bask under her heat lamp, curl up in her hide box, or gently take food from Zara's holographic hand. It was an intimate glimpse into the bond between human and snake, one Zara hoped would help demystify and destigmatize these fascinating creatures. As she worked, Zara found an unexpected ally in Professor Trill, the xenobiology instructor. The diminutive furry professor had been fascinated by Zora's presentation on snakes and was eager to learn more about Earth's unique fauna. "Your world is truly a treasure trove of biological diversity," Trill enthused as she examined the holographic recreation of a coral reef Zora was building. "I would love to visit someday, to see these wonders firsthand." Zara smiled, warmed by the professor's genuine interest. "I hope you get the chance," she said, "and I hope my exhibit can help bring a little bit of Earth's magic to the Academy." Professor Trill cocked her head, her large ears twitching thoughtfully. "Zara," she said, "have you considered giving a talk at the fair?" I think many students and faculty would be fascinated to hear more about Earth's wildlife and ecology, straight from a knowledgeable source. Zara hesitated, uncertainty welling up inside her. A talk would be a much more direct, personal form of outreach than her exhibit. It would make her even more of a target for those who viewed her interest in creatures like snakes with suspicion and hostility. But it would also be an opportunity to confront those attitudes head-on, to make a case for the understanding and appreciation of all Earth's creatures, not just the cute and cuddly ones. If she truly wanted to change hearts and minds, wasn't this exactly the kind of platform she needed? Slowly, Zara nodded. "I think that's a great idea, Professor," she said. "I'd be honored to give a talk." Over the next few weeks, Zara worked with Professor Trill to develop her presentation. They curated a selection of videos and images showcasing the astonishing variety of Earth's fauna, from the majestic elephants and graceful whales to the clever octopuses and iridescent butterflies. Zara also delved into the intricate webs of Earth's ecosystems, highlighting how each creature, from the mightiest predator to the humblest microbe, played a vital role. And of course, there was a section dedicated to snakes and other reptiles, complete with footage of Sasha and other pet snakes interacting gently and affectionately with their human companions. Zara knew this would be the most challenging part of her talk for many of her audience members, but she was determined to present it with sensitivity and care. The day of the Cultural Exchange Fair arrived in a buzz of excitement and activity. The Academy's grand atrium was transformed into a vibrant bazaar of sights, sounds, and smells from 100 different worlds. Zara's exhibit drew curious glances and cautious approaches, the intricate holographic environments eliciting gasps of wonder. As the fair progressed, Zara was heartened to see a steady stream of visitors to her exhibit. Many were initially hesitant around the snake vivarium, but as they watched Sasha's calm, gentle behavior and listened to Zara's explanations, their wariness seemed to melt away, replaced by fascination and even, in some cases, tentative affection. Ventress was a constant presence at Zara's side, her enthusiasm and support unwavering. She even volunteered to help guide visitors through the exhibit, her natural charisma and good cheer putting even the most nervous at ease. But the real test came with Zara's talk. As she took the stage in the Academy's grand lecture hall, she felt a flutter of nerves. The hall was packed, a sea of diverse faces from across the galaxy, all fixed on her with expressions ranging from curiosity to skepticism to outright hostility. Taking a deep breath, Zara began. She spoke of the incredible biodiversity of Earth, the intricate dance of its ecosystems. She showed images and videos that drew gasps and murmurs of amazement from the audience. And when she came to the section on snakes and reptiles, she did not shy away from the challenge. "I know many of you find the idea of bonding with a creature like a snake to be strange, even frightening," she said, her voice clear and strong. "But I ask you to consider this. Is it not the highest form of enlightenment to extend our empathy and understanding to those creatures who are most different from us? Is it not the truest test of our compassion to find beauty and value in the forms that challenge our preconceptions?" As she spoke, Zara saw the atmosphere in the room begin to shift. Hostility and skepticism gave way to thoughtfulness, even a grudging respect. When she finished her talk, the applause was resounding, punctuated by cheers and whistles from Ventress and her other friends. In the days that followed, Zara noticed a marked change in her interactions with her classmates. Many who had previously avoided her now sought her out, eager to learn more about Earth's wildlife and share stories of their own world's fascinating creatures. Even Zortix, the insectoid who had confronted her so angrily before, approached her with an apology and a request to visit her exhibit. It was a small change, but a significant one. Zara knew there was still a long way to go in fostering true interspecies understanding and acceptance, but she also knew that every journey began with a single step. And if her exhibit and talk had helped even a few more beings take that step, then it was a victory worth celebrating. As the Cultural Exchange Fair came to a close and the Academy returned to its normal rhythms, Zara felt a renewed sense of purpose and belonging. She had come to Zuriac 6 to learn, but she had also found a calling. To be a bridge between worlds, a champion of empathy and understanding in a galaxy too often divided by fear and prejudice. It was a daunting task, but one she was ready to embrace. For in the end, she knew the things that united them were far greater than those that divided them. They were all children of the cosmos, all seeking to make their way in a vast and wondrous universe. And if a human and a snake could find love and companionship together, then surely there was hope for the galaxy. With a smile on her face and a spring in her step, Zara headed off to her next class, ready to continue learning, growing, and building the bridges that would carry them all into a brighter future. Bridging the cultural gap. In the weeks following the cultural exchange fair, Zara felt a profound shift in the atmosphere at the Galactic Academy. Her exhibit and talk had sparked a wave of curiosity and conversation about Earth and its diverse fauna, with students and faculty alike seeking her out to learn more. Professor Trill invited Zora to give a series of guest lectures in her xenobiology classes, sharing her knowledge of Earth's ecosystems and evolutionary history. Zara found herself thriving in this new role, her passion for her homeworld's natural wonders shining through in every presentation. She also began collaborating with the Academy's holographic engineering department to develop more advanced and immersive exhibits showcasing Earth's wildlife. Together, they created virtual safari experiences that allowed users to trek through the Amazon rainforest, dive the Great Barrier Reef, and come face to face with creatures like gorillas, whales, and yes, snakes, all in stunningly realistic detail. Word of these innovative exhibits spread quickly, drawing interest from across the galaxy. Soon, the Academy was hosting visiting scholars and dignitaries eager to experience the wonders of Earth for themselves. Zara found herself at the center of this whirlwind of activity, her expertise and insight in high demand. It was exhilarating and exhausting in equal measure, but she couldn't deny the deep sense of fulfillment it brought her. She was making a real difference, breaking down barriers and fostering understanding in a way she had never dreamed possible. But perhaps the most profound change was in her personal relationships. Ventraz, always her staunchest ally, had become an inseparable companion, her quick wit and infectious laughter a constant source of joy and support. And then there was Zortix. The insectoid who had once been her fiercest critic had become an unlikely but steadfast friend. After overcoming his initial fear and mistrust, he had thrown himself into learning about Earth's creatures with a fervor that matched Zora's own. He was particularly fascinated by Earth's arthropods, marveling at the similarities and differences to his own kind. On Arthros, we have always prided ourselves on being the most advanced and sophisticated of the insectoid races, he confided to Zora one day as they pored over holographic models of Earth's beetles and spiders. But seeing the incredible diversity and adaptations of Earth's arthropods, it humbles me. We have so much still to learn. Zara smiled, touched by her friend's openness. That's the beauty of the universe, isn't it? She said. No matter how much we think we know, there's always more to discover, more to marvel at. As the academic year drew to a close, Zora found herself reflecting on the incredible journey she had undertaken. She had come to the Galactic Academy hoping to learn, to broaden her horizons, and she had, in ways she could never have imagined. But more than that, she had grown. She had faced challenges and prejudices head-on, standing firm in her convictions, even when it would have been easier to back down. She had opened hearts and minds, forging bonds of understanding and friendship across vast gulfs of difference. And in doing so, she had discovered a fundamental truth, that for all the diversity of the galaxy, for all the myriad forms and customs and beliefs, the things that united them were far greater than those that divided them. They were all seekers of knowledge, all explorers of the vast and wondrous cosmos. They were all, in their own unique ways, dreamers and creators and storytellers. As she packed her bags and prepared to return to Earth for the summer break, Zara knew that her journey was far from over. She had found her calling, her place in the grand tapestry of the universe. And she knew, with a certainty that filled her with warmth and purpose, that she would spend the rest of her life working to weave that tapestry ever tighter, ever more beautiful in its infinite complexity. For that was the true mission of the Galactic Academy, the true promise of the United Galactic Federation. Not to erase their differences, but to celebrate them. Not to enforce conformity, but to nurture diversity. To build a galaxy where every being, every world, every culture could shine in its own unique light, and together create a radiance that would illuminate the cosmos. Zara took one last look around her dorm room, at the holographic stars she had created, each one representing a friend, a lesson, a precious memory. Then, with a smile on her face and a lightness in her heart, she stepped out into the bright Ziriac 6 sunlight, ready for whatever adventures the future might bring. As she boarded the transport ship that would carry her back to Earth, Zara felt a tap on her shoulder. It was Ventress, her golden eyes shining with emotion. "You'll be back next year, right?" the Iruvian asked, her usually playful tone tinged with a rare earnestness. Zara grinned, pulling her friend into a tight hug. "Try and stop me," she said. "The Academy hasn't gotten rid of me yet." Ventress laughed, her fur rippling with joy. "Good," she said, "because we have a lot more worlds to explore, you and I. A lot more minds to open, a lot more friends to make." Zara nodded, feeling a lump in her throat. "I can't wait," she said softly. As the ship lifted off, Zara watched the gleaming spires of the Academy recede into the distance, until they were just a glittering point of light among the stars. But she knew that light would always be a part of her, guiding her, inspiring her, calling her back. For she was Zora Connor, the girl who had bridged worlds. The girl who had looked into the face of the unknown and found a friend. The girl who had shown the galaxy that the greatest adventure of all was the one that took place in the heart, the mind, the soul. And she knew, with every fiber of her being, that her adventure was only just beginning. The end.